Right, so I'm calling the special meeting of the planning board to order. Only item on the agenda today is the Carson Power solar tier 3 installation. How do you want to proceed?
We have two alternates tonight at this point.
One alternate.
One alternate. So we should just make sure that the alternate is fully familiar with the record of the case. I think he is.
Scott, do you feel comfortable and fully informed on this application?
Okay. Okay. He's attended all the meetings, as I recall.
Yes.
And reviewed all the documentation.
I think it was Frank gonna do. Frank, were you gonna? Here? Frank, can you hear us?
Oh.
Yes, hello. I just had to unmute myself.
No problem.
Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, maybe you want to start,
Sure.
Warren, and then.
So we've reached that stage of the project where we've completed. The planning board has completed the seeker review and issued a negative declaration for the project, and now we've come to the point where the planning board needs to make a decision to approve or deny the special use permit with conditions and site plan approval with conditions for the project. If you recall at the last meeting, we took a straw vote and the planning board did vote to authorize me to go ahead and draft the resolutions for the board's consideration. It was pretty awesome task considering the volume of material that we have. And I sent a copy of the original draft of the resolution to all the board members before the holidays. So hopefully you've had a chance to review it. We've gotten some additional comments from our planners and from our engineer, which have been incorporated for the most part in the final version that I have tonight. And I received some helpful comments from our planning board chair today, which I incorporated. So those are kind of a little bit last minute. So I sent out to everybody a red line copy of the final version of the resolution, and the red lines only contain what I added today. And then when I went over it today, I found a few other things that I changed. So those are the only changes from the copies that you should already have. And but
everyone got that email to them.
Pardon?
Everyone got your red line copy emailed to them.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
And everyone was able to review it.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Okay. So we have a red line copy and a clean copy. And if you want, I can take you through the resolution. It's quite lengthy. But the first section is introductory. Basically provides information concerning the project, basic information concerning the project. And that's on page 1 through the top of page 2. The only change that I made to the draft that I sent you all was the last whereas clause. I'm sorry, the second whereas clause, which I put in confirmation about the future ownership of the property as far as we understand it. The real property is currently owned by Carrie and Lucy Giordino, and it's our understanding that the property will be sold after final approval, the real property, to a solar REIT, which is a real estate investment. What is it? Real estate investment trust.
Yes,
right? REIT, and that trust will enter into a long-term ground lease with NextCamp Community Solar, which will be purchasing Culver's Corner 1 and Culver's Corners 2 LLCs, who will be the operators, and they will be maintaining the solar facility. And throughout the resolution, I refer to the operator of the facility, which will be different from the owner of the facility and the responsibilities of the operator. So the first page just describes the project, where it's located, the infrastructure, and the last whereas, which I changed today, indicates that upon decommissioning of the solar array, the forested acreage will remain forested, and the remaining acreage will be used for meadow habitat or returned to farmland in accordance with the terms of the site plan approval and the conservation easement. After that, I went through the history of the seeker determination, which we've already gone through at length, but I provided a chronology, pretty detailed chronology of events that led up to the negative declaration for the environmental review, including all of the meetings, all of the hearings, all of the submissions, all of the revised submissions, and identified comments, applicable comments that were made by the public, and the public's consultants, and neighbors' consultants. It's similar to the chronology of events that was attached to the negative declaration, but in a little bit more detail. It concludes with the final determination to issue a negative declaration for the project on August 23rd, 2023, which was pretty detailed negative declaration. So I don't think I have to go over that with you tonight unless you want to, because the crux of the resolution will be in the conditions, and that will go over fairly carefully. So the next on page 7 starts with the special permit and site plan approval. And what I put there is I continued the process after the negative declaration, which followed the Zoning Board of Appeals issuing an area variance for the fence on August 28th, and that was in the prior and the last whereas clause of that prior section, and then goes on to detail the public hearings that were scheduled and the special meetings that were scheduled specifically to focus on the site plan review and the special permit review of the project. And I indicated some of the comments of the neighbors, some of the comments of Scenic Hudson with Ned Sullivan, the president, who actually spoke at the September 13th meeting, which importantly indicated that Scenic Hudson was prepared to enter into a conservation easement covering the entire property, which would protect the property in perpetuity if the project was approved by the planning board. Then I indicated the special after that, there was a special workshop meeting on September 27th, which was attended by our planner, engineer, and myself. And we went over the standards and criteria for the special use permit approval as contained in the town code. And the town's consultant planner provided a memo to the planning board, which contained 19 suggested conditions. Later on, that was amended to 20 special conditions on September 29th, which our planner recommended the board should consider in imposing conditions on the special use permit if it were to be granted.
One, just hold on one moment. Vicky's here, so let's get her inserted in, and
I'm not going to repeat it. But
no, I'll just go over with her where we're at.
Where's she?
She's gone.
Oh, okay.
Do we have a chair for Vicky? What? Well, we need some chair, probably.
Scooch over, no?
No, she's gone. She has to sit over there instead. Oh, Vicky. That's right. Sorry, we had to start. So what we've been doing. So first of all, did you get to see the the red line copy that Warren sent
Yes.
today? Okay.
Okay. All right.
And that's what Warren's going over it now.
Great.
Let
me get a copy for this.
oh yeah.
Yes. So Vicky, we've gone through up to page 7 of the resolution. We're not going over every paragraph in detail. There was one change on page 7. The whereas clause, which reads, at the public hearing, the town engineer presented aerial photographs to the board comparing forest on the property from 1936 today, indicating that the property was not a mature forest in 1936 and has been logged at least once since 1936. I think he used the word cleared. And as a result of that activity, it is not currently, in our engineer's opinion, an old growth or what we call mature forest.
Warren, just note there's a was missing there. Property was not. It just says property not on the second line.
Property, indicating the property was not, somehow the was crossed.
No worries.
Was not a,
Yeah,
so the was should be put back in there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So the was, we will put back in. And let's see what rush changes today. So it was not a mature forest in 1936. It's been logged extensively since that time, and in our engineer's opinion, it's not a what we call an old growth or mature forest. Then at the September 27th meeting, the town's planning consultant, Frank Fish, reviewed with the planning board the 11 objectives set forth in the special permit section of the town code. And those are objectives that are put in the code that the drafters of the code, which is the town board, would like the planning board to consider anytime they consider issuing a special use permit for any activity, which includes the current one, this solar project. At that same meeting, Frank advised the board that his firm had conducted some research. I'm sorry, there was an important thing I left out. Okay, I'm sorry. At that meeting, Frank Fish advised the board that his firm had conducted some preliminary research with regard to the impact of solar farms and their on surrounding property, because that seemed to be a very important consideration for the neighbors to the property, and indicated that the impact was dependent on the size, type, and visibility of the solar farm, and that the studies that their firm had seen were inconclusive insofar as demonstrating a negative impact on property values. The special use permit and site plan project was continued on October 11th, 2023, and several property, I think 4 property owners spoke against issuing the special permit, and Carl Watkins Bate, the director of Scenic Hudson, spoke at that meeting explaining what a conservation easement is and how it protects the property. It's also included in a letter that he submitted to the board, and indicating that that conservation easement, when it's entered into between the owner of the property and Scenic Hudson, would permanently restrict future land use and development to that property for in perpetuity.
Sorry to interrupt, Warren. That's a typo.
Which one?
Her name is Carrie. C-A-R-I.
Oh, not Carl.
Correct.
Okay, so another typo. If you see typos, just let us know. There could be a lot of them. Then at the planning board members discussed with their consultants at the October 11th meeting, again, the potential impact of this project on property values. And the town's consultant planner indicated that some studies showed a slight increase in property values and some showed a slight decrease. That Carson Powers, representative of the subordinate, advised the board that the impact on property values as a result of the solar facility would be directly tied to the visibility of the system, which in the instant case is virtually non-existent. And then the public hearing on the special permit and site plan was closed. Planning board conducted a special meeting on the Carson Powers project to further consider issues relating to the special use permit and site plan. At this meeting, a study titled Shedding Light on Large-Scale Solar Impacts, Analysis, Property Values, and Proximity to Photovoltaics across the 6 states was discussed and considered by the planning board. And the study considered impacts on property values from the siting of solar facilities in the states of California, Minnesota, Connecticut, North Carolina, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. And then I added a comment today, whereas today that the planning board members have exhaustively, I hope I'm not exaggerating, reviewed and considered all of the comments made by the members of the public at the public hearings and in written submissions to the board. And then at the conclusion of the October 25th planning board meeting, a vote was taken to direct me to draft this document today. Next, I went on to discuss the consistency of the project with the Pine Plains solar law. I went through a brief history of the solar law and its contents, and indicated that this is a proposed what we call Tier 3 solar facility, a large scale solar facility, and the planning board in the third whereas finds that the proposed Tier 3 solar facility complements New York State's renewable energy plan goals and objectives. Not renewable, yeah, that should be renewable. Renewable energy plan goals and objectives by generating solar energy while contributing to a cleaner and greener energy future for all state residents, and by providing new and additional electricity services that efficiently meet present needs and anticipate future needs of the town of Pine Plains residents. Then I went on to indicate the sections of 275-24D5 of the code, which requires certain prerequisites for any solar facility. Went over all of them. I don't have to review them now. And including the lot coverage restrictions and anti-reflective requirements. And concluded on page 9 that the planning board has determined that all of these requirements and objectives have been or will be fulfilled by the conditions to be placed on the special permit and site plan approval as hereinafter set forth. Then I went on to the specifically to address the special use permit approval that's set forth in section 275-55D of the town code, and the 11 objectives. And went through each of the 11 objectives and indicated how the project is determined to fulfill those objectives. I'll just go over the most important ones, not all of them, because some of them are really not relevant to this project. The first one is important. Project use shall be deemed to be compatible with adjoining properties and with the natural built environment of its surroundings. And I indicated in there that the project fully complies with all portions of the zoning law and solar law, with the exception of a requirement for a 7-foot perimeter fence, which is required for compliance with the National Electrical Code, which has been approved by an area variance issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals. The project's compatibility with nearby properties and with the natural and built environment of the area was discussed and evaluated during the seeker review, which included an assessment of potential visual impacts, potential impacts to water quality and forested habitat, as well as potential impacts from noise and glare. Project is a Tier 3 solar system, is permitted in the R district pursuant to the town code. Subject to special permit and site plan approval, and as such, Tier 3 solar installations have been deemed by the town board to be a use consistent with the R district. Additionally, the project presents a low density land use and has been designed in part in response to planning board and public comments to be virtually entirely screened from nearby residences and public vantage points in keeping with the rural character of the surrounding natural and built environment. Additionally, the applicant is proposing a conservation easement to be held by Scenic Hudson Inc., a well-respected land conservation organization, to preserve the entire subject property, including the proposed project site, against future developments. The applicant, through the voluntary conveyance of this conservation easement to Scenic Hudson, intends to conserve the project site to maintain view sheds from public roads, protect soils of agricultural significance, and safeguard wildlife habitat in perpetuity. These actions are consistent with the character and rural aesthetic Pine Plains in the Greater Hudson Valley. And I went on to indicate the site is in fact accessible to fire, police, and emergency vehicles. The special use is suitable to its site upon consideration of its scale, intensity in relation to environmentally sensitive features, including but not limited to steep slopes, wetlands, and watercourses. There are some steep slopes on the property, but they're avoided to the maximum extent practicable, and there are no wetlands or watercourses on the property. Fourth, consider criteria is adequate screening and separation distances are provided to buffer the use from adjoining properties. This is an important provision, so I'll read it. The project has been sited in areas of the property which are generally not visible from public roads, specifically Bean River Road and Route 199, which are adjacent to the project site. Visual impacts have been minimized by locating the solar facilities in substantially less visible areas of the project site areas almost completely screened by existing vegetation and topography. In addition, the applicant is proposing to install supplemental vegetative screening to the existing forested areas to minimize visual impacts to the fullest extent practicable. In response to comments made by the planning board and the public regarding potential visual and community character impacts, the applicant voluntarily provided a revised site plan dated March 2023 that removed a number of proposed panels from the ridge line in the southeast section and moved them to the interior sections of the property site. In doing so, the applicant provided for intention of additional forest areas in the southeast corner of the project site, which increases the retention of natural vegetative screening currently on the project site. The applicant is proposing new vegetative screening plantings to be located on the ridgeline, approximately 20 feet higher in elevation than the plantings proposed on the previous iterations of the site plan. Additionally, the applicant submitted a revised plan that enhanced the proposed plantings from a single row at 6-foot plantings to a double row of 12-foot plantings. The combined removal of panels from this section, preservation of existing vegetative buffer, increased altitude of the planting vegetative buffer, and the increased height and depth of the planted vegetative buffer impacts will virtually eliminate all visual impacts to private residences in the surrounding areas. 5, we concluded that the use will not impact ambient noise levels, generate dust or odors, release pollutants, generate glare, or cause any other nuisances. And I referred to after the project is completed, very little, if any, noise would be discernible from the nearby properties, and the construction noise mitigation plan voluntarily limits the hours of noisy construction activities on Saturdays and Sundays, and mitigation of construction noise by reducing the amount of on-site wood chipping activities. And additionally, the project will not produce any dust or odors, nor will it release any pollutants. I also indicated that the solar panels will have reflective coating per industry standards, and refer to the glare study, which is part of the record of this application, which provided an extensive analysis on the proposed solar array and determined that it's highly unlikely that glare from proposed solar project will be problematic in any manner to the surrounding area. Parking is not an issue. I briefly discussed that. Vehicular, pedestrian, and bicycle circulation and levels of service and roadway geometry will be safe and adequate to the special use. Briefly discuss that. And the location, number 8, which is important, the location, arrangement, size, and design of the special use, including all principal and accessory structures associated with the same, shall be compatible with the character of the neighborhood in which it is situated. As noted, and I'll read this, the project is a Tier 3 solar system that's permitted in the R district, subject to site plan and special permit approval, which indicates that the town board, when it created the Tier 3 solar provisions, deemed the a solar facility, Tier 3 solar facility, to be used consistent in that district. Further, the planning board took a hard look at the impact of this solar system on the architectural scale and character of the surrounding area and the impact on its existing natural landscape. And as indicated before, it's been sited in areas generally not visible from public roads adjacent to the property. Impacts to community character have been minimized by locating the solar panels in substantially less visible areas of the project site, and by the screening, which I've already discussed. The location, arrangement, and size, design of the project as set forth in the site plan is therefore compatible with the character of the surrounding neighborhood, given the project's lack of visibility from public vantage points, proposed screening, and the proposed conservation easement. Utilities section I briefly discussed. The applicant has prepared and submitted a stormwater pollution prevention plan known as a SWIP in conjunction with the site plan, which demonstrates that the proposed stormwater facilities will be adequate to serve the proposed use. And number 10, the use shall not impact the character of the town, neighborhood, or values of surrounding property. Now I'm going to go over this because it's important. As discussed in the town seeker review and in its negative seeker declaration, and in paragraphs 4 and 8 herein, planning board has determined that this project will not negatively impact the character of the town or surrounding neighborhoods. With regard to the impact of the project on values of surrounding properties, planning board finds that based upon all of the empirical evidence submitted, the proposed solar facility will have no demonstrable negative impact on property values of nearby residences. The neighboring property owners and their attorney have at best supplied conclusory, non-expert opinions that the solar project will have a negative impact on the values of the property. They have submitted no appraisal or other expert documentation demonstrating that the construction and maintenance of the solar facility will diminish or have any negative impact on their property values. Logic dictates that a solar facility's impact on neighboring property values is largely dependent upon the visual impacts of the same. The visual impact study submitted by the applicant demonstrates that the solar facility as proposed is mitigated by the applicant's voluntary screening and landscaping plans, coupled with the fact that the panels are to be located in the least visible portions of the subject property. The planning board comes to the unmistakable conclusion that there will be no visual negative impacts resulting from this project, and as a result, no negative impacts on the values surrounding properties. It also noted that the neighboring property owners and their attorneys argument that the application should be denied because, in quotes, even if you can't see it, it will be there, does not make sense to the planning board. The solar facility cannot be seen by surrounding properties. How can the project have a negative impact on the value of those surrounding properties? The 6-state study on the impact of solar project on property value submitted on October 25th, after the close of the public hearing, contained no site-specific analysis of the impact of the Carson Powers project on surrounding properties, nor did it consider impacts on property values from the siting of solar facilities in the state of New York. Moreover, the results of the study of impacts in the states of California, Minnesota, Connecticut, North Carolina, Massachusetts, and New Jersey were inconclusive, with some states showing a positive impact on property values and some states showing a minor negative impact on property values. The town's consulting planner has advised the board that their own research has produced no definitive studies in the state of New York to support the conclusion that solar facilities especially those which are virtually totally screened from public view, have any significant negative impact on property values. Planning board also takes notice of the fact that the photographs of the solar facilities submitted by the attorney for the neighboring property owners depict solar facilities which virtually surround or are directly adjacent to residential structures, having a direct view of the solar arrays. This is simply not the case with the applicant's proposed solar project. For all these reasons, the planning board concludes that the subject solar project will not have any negative impact on the character of the town or surrounding neighborhood or on the values of surrounding properties. The last issue, the special use, will not impact historic, scenic, or natural environmental features on site or within the adjoining neighborhood. I referred back to the seeker review of that, which found in the negative on that issue. Now, therefore, be it resolved, planning board hereby grants special use permit approval to the Culver's Corner, I'm on page 14, but LLC and Culver's Corner 2 LLC solar energy facilities located at 454 Bean River Road, the town of Pine Plains, in accordance with section.
Warren, we're on page 15, are we not?
Yeah.
I forget.
It's got a different.
It just got a different spot.
Yeah, you probably have
size.
different since I.
Okay.
Yeah.
This makes sense.
In the clean, I'm reading off the red lines. It's clean, make it different.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
that's why.
These are the bottom of 14.
So,
So just to be clear, we're on 15, but nothing's been missing.
yeah,
So,
you're not missing it.
no.
On the resolution, now we get into the meat of the resolution, which I want to go over with you very carefully, and Frank wants to weigh in on these. I've listed all of the conditions that was advised by our planning consultant, added some meat to those conditions and added other conditions which upon review of the history of the project and the submissions, I felt were deemed appropriate for you to apply to this project. So the first condition is that the special permit shall be deemed valid only upon compliance with all the conditions set forth herein, if and so long as the solar project facility continues to exist and is constructed, operated, and maintained in accordance with the site plan approved hereinafter, prepared by Bergman Architects as revised on June 5th, 2023. So if there's a violation of that, then they will be out of compliance. I mean, the special permit can be revoked. Next, 2, special permit shall expire in the event that the solar facility has been determined to be abandoned and has undergone decommissioning under the town's code in accordance with a decommissioning plan referred to hereinafter, or in the event of a material violation of the approved site plan or the conditions set forth herein and failure to remedy such violation in a timely manner after notice. So that gives you the power to revoke the special permit if subsequent to its installation you find there are violations of the conditions. 3, prior to commencement, and just stop me if any of these require further discussion. 3, prior to the commencement of construction, the applicant shall attend a pre-construction meeting with the town's building inspector and the town engineer to confirm the construction plans and the sequence of construction and the forestry and tree marking plans. These plans shall be filed with the planning board clerk, building inspector, code enforcement officer, and town engineer. At some point in the future, we only have one building inspector and code enforcement officer.
That might be bifurcated.
Number 5, after completion of the project and prior to commencing operations, the applicant shall meet with emergency responders at the property to discuss the procedures to be followed in the event of a fire and/or an emergency. Front gate to the facility shall be locked with a Knox box or in a similar manner that will provide access to the facility by emergency responders and the town's building inspector, code enforcement officer, fire inspector, and town engineer. Within 5 days of the meeting, the applicant must provide the town planning board with hard copies of the meeting minutes. The site-specific emergency plan must be presented to the building inspector and to the town fire department prior to training the applicant and by the applicant, and a copy should be kept on file with the building inspector and the town clerk.
I
Sorry.
don't know if it has to be specified in here, but like the front gate to the property, Is there gonna be locked, there's gonna be a gate there too?
At the front of the,
On 199, like right at 199.
yeah, like a cattle gate, probably
Yep.
similar to what's there now,
And it'll be locked,
probably.
so
Okay,
it's gotta have some similar,
So why don't we say, the front gate, um, to the facility and the gate surrounding the panels shall be locked?
The front gate. That actually would probably be at the discretion of whoever the tenant farmer is. The gate to the entrance to the facility, when you go up the road, that will be locked. That will have to be locked, I think.
right, but they're gonna, obviously, they're gonna need to get in, if something were to happen, they were gonna need to get into
Yeah.
that gate also.
For sure.
So how we,
I would say
just not lock it, or?
if there's a lock, if there's a lock, it would have to be a Knox box with the in-house access. That makes a lot of sense.
So I'm gonna specify, I'll change this to the front gate to the facility and the gate surrounding the
Road access, street
the
access.
road. Okay, the front gate. Road access. To the facility and. What do we call the gate surrounding the solar array? Why don't we say the solar array gate?
Perimeter fence, yeah.
Yeah, I like that perimeter fence.
And the perimeter solar gate shall be locked with an lockbox or some other method. I just am familiar with an lockbox.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, next, number 6, the applicant shall, prior to commencement of construction, provide written authorization from the applicant and the owner of the property for entry onto the property by the town's building inspector. You may be surprised to know that the building inspector does not have the absolute right to enter properties for inspection. So we want to have that authorization in advance. And that would apply to the code enforcement officer and the engineer for purposes of conducting inspections as may be required for compliance with the terms of these conditions throughout the life of the solar facility. The applicant shall, prior to commencement of construction, fund an escrow account with the town in an amount specified by the town engineer and attorney to the town, sufficient to reimburse the town for all expenses incurred by the town's building inspector, code enforcement officer, and/or engineer for the conduct of all post-approval inspections as may be required pursuant to these conditions and the conditions of site plan approval. The account shall be refunded on a periodic basis when the balance is depleted to 20% of the original amount. Next is the applicant shall design and construct and operate a proposed facility in accordance with the stormwater pollution prevention, should be prevention.
When I asked back on 6, was that amount been determined at this point, or is that yet to be determined?
That we determine,
Okay,
yeah, so we'll have to get advice from the engineer on that. So that's, I've changed stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWIP. Last revised on June 5th, 2023. The SWIP shall be improved by the town engineer and the applicant shall submit an acknowledgement of receipt by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation of the notice of intent. And final approved SWIP shall be provided to the building inspector and town engineer by the applicant prior to commencing construction. Sediment and control methods will be implemented in accordance with the through site plan and the SWIP. Stormwater, and I went over the stormwater retention. I'm not going to go over the bioretention requirements on that. That's just a repeat of what's in our in the site plan and the stormwater plan. This is important. There shall be weekly erosion and sediment control inspections by a qualified inspector during construction to monitor compliance with a stormwater general permit for construction activities. These weekly inspections shall occur every 7 days from the date of the start of the construction to the final stabilization of the project site, and reports should be reports of such inspections. And wait a second. And such, I'm taking the word report out, so it should be, and such inspection reports shall be required. So it shall be supplied to the town's building inspector and engineer. The applicant shall incorporate such erosion control measures pursuant to New York State DEC standards and specifications for erosion control as specified in the applicant's erosion control plan and SWIP. All SWIP inspections, just a repeat of will be undertaken by a qualified inspector with reports provided to the town within 5 days. Number 8, all grading activities will be minimized to the greatest extent possible, and no herbicide treatments will be used during the construction or in the operation and maintenance of the facility. The project panels and infrastructure will be constructed within 6 to 8 months after commencement of construction in one phase. The applicant for just cause may apply to the planning board for a reasonable extension of that time period if necessary. Number 9, to ensure that the solar facility is properly monitored to enable full restoration of the property to its agricultural production potential, a detailed sampling and analysis plan shall be submitted for approval to the planning board. The plan will characterize and document surface soil quality before construction, during operations, and upon decommissioning of the solar panels as necessary to return the parcels to farm or pasture land for use upon decommissioning. Number 10, and this is an important provision. Yeah, they're all important. The applicant shall enter into a perpetual conservation easement donated to Scenic Hudson, Inc., as described in the June 16, 2023 property conservation plans submitted by the applicant. The conservation easement shall include, but shall not be limited to, preservation of all existing vegetation not proposed to be removed or disturbed as part of the construction and site plan for the property, and yearly inspections to ensure compliance with the terms of the conservation easement as described in the communications from Scenic Hudson to the planning board dated January 19, 2023 and September 13, 2023. The proposed conservation easement and conservation map, there are 2 documents, the conservation easement, and then there's a conservation map, shall be submitted to the attorney to the town and the town engineer for their review and approval prior to execution to ensure the permanent protection of the property's forested areas and remaining areas which will be continued to be used as meadow and in agricultural production. The plan after execution shall after execution be filed with Dutchess County Clerk's office and with the town clerk. Number 11, the project shall be constructed in accordance with the requirements of New York State Fire Code to ensure accessibility for emergency vehicles and will include provisions for emergency access and emergency shutoff capability as described in the April 7, 2023 communications between the applicant's engineer and the Pine Plains Fire Chief. 12, after construction, the applicant shall seed the entire project area with native and pollinator-friendly species, including milkweed, to encourage a habitat for monarch butterflies, and shall construct the project to minimize to the greatest extent practicable impacts on land mapped by the United States Department of Agriculture as prime farmland soils, and shall limit some impact, such impact to approximately 2.5 acres prime soils. Project shall be constructed and operated in accordance with the notice of intent issued to the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets and in accordance with a final determination from New York State DAM. Next, in addition, this is one I'm a little concerned about. In addition, we added this today. In addition, the applicant shall reasonably accommodate the an apiary on the site. That's the beekeeper operation. The town shall find a beekeeper to engage in this activity. However, if the town locates a qualified beekeeper that wishes to maintain an apiary on the site and the beekeeper provides the equipment and any necessary insurance, and an indemnification agreement holding the solar facility should be the solar facility harmless for any injuries caused by the operation of the apiary, then the applicant shall allow the apiary to be located on the site and placed in a manner as to not hamper the operation and maintenance of the solar facility, and allow the beekeeper access to the site as necessary for the operation. This is something that was discussed, I believe, during the approval process and agreed to by the applicant. So I hope they don't have any problem with that section. Additionally, the project shall be constructed, operated, and maintained in accordance with the.
Warren, so the town shall find it or is may find it? It sounds like we have to. It's like may.
The town may, well, we don't
Yes, I
want,
know.
the reason we did that is you didn't want to impose that on the applicant.
Okay, so
So it should be
the
shall,
town.
yeah. It doesn't mean it's
It
mandatory.
doesn't mean the town
may.
has to go.
But if you do, it's your responsibility, it's the town's
Okay,
responsibility.
all right.
Additionally, the project shall be constructed, operated, and maintained in accordance with the New York State Department of Agricultural guidelines for solar energy project construction mitigation for agricultural land, last revised on 10/18/2019. A qualified environmental monitor shall be designated to oversee the construction, restoration, and follow-up monitoring of all. Should be of all, not for. Of all agricultural areas. The qualifications of the environmental monitor shall be submitted to the town's engineer and planning board for approval. Following construction, the monitor shall determine appropriate activities. This fly doesn't seem to be too helpful. Shall be submitted to the town's engineer and planning board for approval. Following construction, the monitor shall determine appropriate activities to return the affected areas to agricultural use, which will include but not necessarily be limited to decompaction, rock removal, and revegetation. Then I went into the soil compaction tests and the requirements for that. I don't have to go over that in detail. It's mine knowing. And following decompaction, all rocks will be unearthed from the decompaction activities 4 inches and larger in size from the surface. This is taken all from the plans that were submitted by the applicant. Number 13, all areas of the project are to be deemed temporary installations and shall be restored after decommissioning. No areas of the project will be irrevocably converted to non-agricultural uses. 22 acres of the site may be converted from agricultural to meadow habitat for the duration of the project. However, upon reclamation and removal of the project infrastructure, these 22 acres and the additional meadow habitat shall be fully returned to farmland, and 33 acres of farmland which are outside the project area will be permanently reserved for agricultural purposes. Any damaged and malfunctioning solar panels or arrays that should be.
Yeah, it's arrays.
Right. Or other equipment shall be removed from the property within 30 days of discovery or written notice of such condition provided to the system operator of the solar facility and disposed of in an appropriate environmentally friendly manner. 14, the construction of the project shall strictly comply with the site plans and construction noise mitigation plan dated April 7th, 2023, which reduces construction hours to 8 a.m. from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and also requires noise construction activities. Requires that noisy, that should be noisy, construction activities such as, such as tree clearing and grading will take place only on weekends. Weekdays, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm getting bleary. Construction shall also comply with the provisions of section 275-35 of the town zoning code. 15, the applicant shall strictly comply with the tree disposal plan dated June 5th, 2023, which includes best practices outlined in the May 8th, 2023 tree survey completed by Hudson Valley Forestry. The applicant shall strictly limit tree clearing activities to between November 1st and March 31st to ensure potential direct impacts to the Indiana northern long-eared bats are avoided, and shall install and maintain bat boxes on the project site as shown on the project site plan. 16, the fence to be constructed on site shall provide a wildlife-friendly opening as shown on the site plan to allow small animals, insects, and other species to freely travel throughout the project site. 17, the applicant shall strictly comply with all the requirements and operations and maintenance plan dated February 8th, 2023. The applicant shall strictly comply with the landscaping and visual screening plan as set forth in the approved site plan. In the event that any of the plantings to be installed in accordance with the landscaping plan are destroyed, diseased, damaged, or die after planting, they shall be restored by the applicant as soon as possible thereafter. In addition, in the event of any catastrophic event or fire which destroys the natural forested areas which provide a visual screening from adjacent properties and roads, the applicant shall be required to make application to the planning board for installation of appropriate plantings or other screening mitigation. 18, the applicant shall include anti-glare coating on all solar panels as presented in the solar panel data sheets provided to the planning board on March 28, 2023. 19, the applicant shall strictly comply with property conservation plan submitted to the planning board dated June 16, 2023. 20, the applicant shall comply with the contract for interconnection of new distributed generation units and or electric energy storage systems with a capacity of 5 megawatts or less connected in parallel with utility distribution systems entered into with Central Hudson Gas and Electric. I just took that from the agreement. The violation of that agreement, which results in termination of the contract, shall be deemed to be an abandonment or discontinuance of the solar facility requiring decommissioning. 21, the applicant shall strictly comply with the decommissioning plan for the solar project dated November 21st, 2023, and shall provide a fully executed copy of that plan signed by both the applicant and the property owner, provided to the attorney to the town and the property owner and provided to the attorney.
Right, shall provide a fully executed copy of that plan, signed both.
By both the applicant and the property owner and provided to the attorney to the town and the town engineer. The applicant shall provide a decommissioning surety bond, which shall be posted prior to the commercial operation date in an amount as recommended by the town engineer, with the elimination of a credit for anticipated recycling of materials to be approved by the attorney to the town and the town board. The town amount of the bond shall be reviewed every 5 years until the applicant's decommissioning obligations have been fulfilled, and the applicant shall submit revised removal cost estimates to the town, the bond company, and to the town engineer on 5-year intervals. The posted bond shall reflect the estimate for the next 5 years until the time the cost of the removal are reassessed. The bond shall remain in place for the duration of the operation of the facility and until decommissioning. 22, solar facility shall be operated in accordance with the species coordination plan submitted by STV dated March 22nd, 2023, before the issuance of an certificate of compliant occupancy or compliance to the applicant. No, that shouldn't do. Yeah, I think that has to be done before the, yes, that's correct, 22. 23, the applicant shall enter into a payment in lieu of taxes, commonly known as a pilot agreement, approved by the attorney to the town and the town board in accordance with Article 6 of the town code before the site plan is signed by the planning board chairman and the building permits are issued. 24, the applicant shall install supplemental vegetative screening to the existing forested area to minimize visual impacts to the fullest extent practicable as shown on the site plan. 25, the applicant shall apply for and receive a commercial access highway work permit from the New York State Department of Transportation and shall submit a copy of the issued work permit and all other permits required for this project from other agencies. That should be submitted to the town engineer. 26, the applicant shall provide the building inspector with copies of all other approvals for the project, including a sign off by New York State Energy Research Development Authority, NYSERDA. And 27, any construction, any changes after construction, any changes, modifications, or alterations to the project shall require planning board application to the planning board for modified special permit and or site plan approval.
But Warren, so, okay, at this point, we're going to take a break, a little
Okay.
recess, and the ZBA has some business to.
Oh,
Like you're within 10 minutes. Maybe you should.
No, we're not with it.
We don't
We
wanna-
still have to discuss it and
Yeah.
go through it. So we're gonna, so I have a motion to recess or adjourn for
Just recess.
temporary recess,
Yeah, second,
until the ZBA is done.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. All opposed? Okay, we're in recess for about 10-15 minutes. Maybe 20. Oh, I just want to remind everyone of the board, please don't just, remember, we can't discuss the project, in groups, so, don't discuss the project.
Oh.
We have intermission more often.
Let's go, make any coffee.
Thanks for this. For your
Thanks.
area. Doing well.
I sit back here. They always put the baby in the corner.
It's nice. We have growth in it. So.
Fine there.
Thank you for coming over. You're welcome.
Could you find us okay?
Well, yeah. A couple times, Just afraid a bear's gonna come out and try to eat me.
Look after Michael.
No, I think he's
Mike's done. He had enough.
he's out.
He's out.
Yes.
No,
He's not staying.
he doesn't like the circus.
Yeah.
He too is afraid of the bears.
Yeah. But we have a quorum, so we can.
Yeah, we have a
So-
forum, so we're.
We can make it happen. Yeah.
Let's see, if I could have everyone's attention, I'd like to call to order. This is the, help me, I'm old, but it's the November meeting of the Pine Plains, Zoning Board of Appeals. We have a very limited agenda tonight. We have an application for a, area variance to allow a shed to go on a lot, which is actually right across the street here. And, the difficulty is that the shape of the lot, it's the one where Route 199 goes and then Hammertown Road essentially circles around it. And hence, you have road frontage on 3 sides of the lot virtually, which puts, whenever you front a road, you end up essentially 2 or 3 front yards. There are additional requirements or restrictions on placing accessory buildings in a front yard. Hence, a area variance is required in order to allow the person the use of their property. And so with that, we have an application before us from Elaine and Amber Rennie, who I have not met, but I noticed people were talking. So perhaps you could just talk about what you're hoping to accomplish.
Just gonna put a shed that's larger than they allowed, on the side of the driveway.
And it says from the application that the shed is 10 by 20. I think that the maximum is 150 square feet, which would be 10 by 15. So you're looking for a variance to that requirement. And then one of the things that I would like to see, because unless people raise objections here, we'll need probably a better indication of the location. I mean, here we have a little parcel, but it'd be nice if there was an actual little drawing of what a 10 by 20 shed is and where it's going to be on the property. So your neighbors have the opportunity to come in and make comments about maybe they would suggest someplace else.
Okay.
And it would be good to also have, I see that it is being purchased. So you would be able to give us and your neighbors a picture of what that shed might look like, so they might have less concern. So those would be 2 things that I would think that we would want to have available at the public hearing so that the public has an opportunity to give you their comments and to give us their comments.
That'll be next month.
Was there anything else in the application that board members
No.
would suggest?
The same. That's exactly what we were talking about.
And
You'll have it marked out.
right, you should also, you have a desired location in your mind. We haven't seen it on the paper. You should stake that out for us.
There's yellow stakes on the lot.
So you should stake that out so that when we go and visit. Now, the difficulty is we traditionally meet the fourth Tuesday of every month. It's the day after Christmas. Lots of people are traveling. I don't know if we can, I know that the secretary, who's probably the most important person here, was not available on the 26th. And I have family and things, so we were wondering, as amongst ourselves, could we do it the third Tuesday instead of the fourth Tuesday?
I responded to you. I can do that.
Okay, so that would be December 19th. And then you just have to make sure that you have the better illustration of the application of the location, a picture of the shed, and that you've got your fees in, and then you can do your notices.
And just remind me, which view for you is considered your front? Is it the Hammertown side or is it the 199 side?
I consider the front the 199.
It's the 199 side. Okay, I didn't know if there was parameters by which that was, we talked about this last time, I know,
It's-
but
Like you said, I've been told that
it's
they have
both.
three.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, but you
Yeah, it's
use
a
199
yeah,
as the,
It's
okay,
difficult, it's difficult.
okay.
No fun.
And so normally the board is willing to try to work with applicants and the neighbors, and we take everybody into consideration and we'll try to work with everyone.
Absolutely.
So with that, is there, people are comfortable with moving ahead and setting a public hearing for the 19th
Yes.
Motion made.
at 7:30. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor will say aye. We will do the site inspection during the daylight. So I would say, what, 4 o'clock
Yeah.
on the same day?
Oh.
On the 19th. The October meeting minutes were sent out earlier. Are people okay with those minutes?
Yeah.
I was.
All right, and is there a motion to approve
Make a
those?
motion.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
And we have a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Do I hear any opposed? None. We have no other business, so I would recommend motion to adjourn.
So made.
All right, and second, all in favor, please say aye.
Right.
That's.
Efficient meeting, right?
That's the committee.
Come back the 19th and see how efficient that
Exactly.
That's fine.
Good. Great. You should be a bright orange lights on it. You found it out.
Is that right?
Cool. That It's pointless.
Good job. That was an Indian. So, then I text Scott, like, fast.
Pizza, certainly.
Let's wait for Al. I'll take one. I'll get into the bathroom. Do you go outside? I do not know. Well, hey, this is done. Meeting it today. Yes, she's not leaving. She's okay. Yeah, she's fine. Can I have a motion to resume the meeting?
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Right.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
The next section of the resolution is site plan approval. Just indicating that 275B5 of the code requires site plan approval for all tier 3 solar installations. The applicant submitted a preliminary site plan for the project on or about November 18th, 2022. The planning board conducted several workshop meetings and held several public hearings in which the site plan was reviewed by the planning board members. And comments on the site plan were invited and received from the public. Planning board conducted a seeker review of the project, during which comments on the site plan were received by several involved and interested agencies. As a result of those comments received and comments received from the town's engineer, planning consultant, several revisions were voluntarily made by the applicant to the site plan, which culminated in the last revised site plan dated June 5th, 2023. During the course of the review of the application and site plan, the board determined that the site plan, as reviewed, complied with the submission requirements of the code. Planning board has received comments from the town engineer in a letter dated September 12th, 2023, which comments have been incorporated in the special permit conditions as set forth in this resolution and will be incorporated in the conditions of approval site plan set forth hereinafter. The planning board, in reaching its decision for site plan approval, has reviewed and considered the criteria for decision-making for site plans as set forth in section 275-63, and has determined that those criteria have been met as set forth in the town seeker determination with special permit conditions. Now, therefore, be it resolved, planning board is hereby grant final site plan approval for the above referenced solar project pursuant Chapter 275 of the town's code, subject to the following conditions. First, approval is based upon the information and documentation shown on the site plan prepared by Bergman Architects and Engineers on planning, last revised on June 5th, 2023, and is conditioned on full compliance with the site plan. Two, approval is further based upon the applicable requirements and conditions contained in that portion of this resolution which approved the special permit application for this project and in accordance with all conditions for approval as set forth in the special permit portion of this resolution as conditioned on full compliance with the site plan. Three, that the site plan be revised to include the boundary survey known as an ALTA, ALTA, submitted November 15th, 2023 as part of the site plan sheet set. Four, that the proposed screening depicted on the site plan sheet C007 be installed prior to installation of the solar panels, and that this requirement be added into the construction sequence listed on C001. Five, the site plan be amended to provide a significant habitat mapping overlay as identified in the significant habitat mapping prepared by Hudsonia Limited for the town of Pine Plains in accordance with the requirement of section 275-62A1B of the code. Six, that the applicant prepare a map depicting the steep slopes and rock crops on the site as required by section 275-62C1H, over which panels are not planted. Planned to be installed, should be planned. To be installed as part of the site plan for final approval. Seven, that the operation and maintenance plan is submitted dated February 8th, 2023, be amended as necessary to include the requirement for routine site visits and
Oh,
maintenance.
wait a minute, dated February 8th, 2023.
I'm sorry,
It should be
That's-
3.
3. Be amended as necessary to include the requirement for routine site visits and maintenance of the current tree line as shown on the site plan. 8, that the applicant make all necessary required revisions to the final site plan drawing before submission to the planning board for final review and signing by the chairman of the planning board and the building inspector for final review and acceptance. And 9, that all application escrow fees and other charges imposed on this application by the planning board and town code be paid prior to signing of the amended site plan by the planning board chairman. And be it further resolved that the planning board clerk shall provide a certified copy of this resolution to the Pine Plains Town Clerk and to each involved and interested agency. That's it. It's good work. It's good one. Thank you. Any questions or comments or proposed changes or other corrections?
I had a question about scenic Hudson's. When I seem to remember when Ned Sullivan was here, he mentioned the possibility of there being a homestead site on this property.
Yeah, is that not in the, is that in the
That it would be
agreement?
the agreement.
I haven't seen the
I
agreement.
mean,
I haven't seen the agreement.
it's not hard to imagine that somebody could actually do a farm there.
Yeah, there was in the agreement, I thought there was a provision for a 5 acre.
That's scenic Hudson, if you'd like me to clarify or not, it's up to you.
Is that appropriate word? Okay. The Scenic Hudson wants to talk. Can I-
So or farm tech complex proposed in the case that, you know, in the future, there might be a farm family on the property that wants to have, you know, an agricultural complex, including house and bars. So that's near the hamlet, at the crossroads there, if that makes sense, on the northeast corner of the property. It should be on
Bean River Road, right?
Yes, correct.
Well, that would be, that would be permitted by Scenic Hudson's, conservation easement. But there would have to be a supplemental application to the planning board for that.
Correct. We don't mandate anything. It's
Right.
only what's allowed.
So whatever's in,
As long as we aren't.
Scenic Hudson, well, you can correct me if I'm wrong. There'll be, you know, a very detailed, conservation plan, which indicates what can be done or what can't be done on the property. And then there's a conservation map, but they don't supersede the planning board, so they can't authorize anything that's not authorized by the resolution. So if there's anything addition that's not authorized here, they'd have to come back to the planning board. And we're gonna review the conservation.
Yes.
easement.
The tree marking, that was all in here, right?
I added that.
Yeah. Anyone else with comments or? No.
Hell of a job.
Pretty complete.
Frank, do you have anything you want to add or?
It's just, no, actually, it's just a question that I have. It was something that, I had reviewed all this ahead of time, but, and I hate to raise this, it's very minor, but, and you're gonna laugh, Warren, this is the apiary. It was condition 12 on the bees and the beekeeper. I was wondering if the wording should be, right now it's, if the applicant doesn't do it, it does say the town shall do it.
Yeah.
So it binds the town board, and I was just wondering if you could say the town shall at its discretion.
Yeah, which paragraph?
That's page 17 or 16, because you have a slightly different page
Right,
number.
give me a second.
Section
I got it.
12.
Yeah.
It's section 12.
I have to, in my discussions, communications with the chair. I think you're right. I think you had raised that before. Why don't we change shall to may?
May.
Okay. I just wanted to make it clear that we weren't imposing an obligation on the applicant to find a beekeeper. This is something that town had discussed during the
Maybe that word,
application.
however, it doesn't have to be there. Then
However, it's the town locates.
if the town locates probably.
Yeah, I think that wording is okay.
Okay, is that a risk?
Yeah, I think if you change the wording for the town may rather than shall, then it's up to the town board.
Probably the town board will do, it'll be the planning board.
Or the planning board, yeah.
Well, somebody would, I would suspect it would come from the town board or somebody talking to somebody and like, oh, yeah, I can put something up there.
That's the only thing we had, because we had reviewed this ahead of time and given Warren our comments, so I think it's, I think everything's complete from our point of view.
Actually, it wouldn't be us, right? That's ag and markets, right? That's not if somebody want to put some, it's just like putting, it's not even a structure.
I mean,
It's just like
it's
a
considered-
stack of boxes.
It's considered an agricultural activity,
Right.
so there's going to be on the site, there's going to be the solar facility and agricultural activity, which may not be limited to plantings, it may,
Right.
may be other.
Yeah, so I they wouldn't have to come to us, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Frank, you were saying.
No, I think that was my only comment, and I think, as I mentioned, we had previously reviewed this a little bit over Thanksgiving, and we feel it's fine, that it's complete. We made some comments to Warren; they're all incorporated, and I think this is a very thorough resolution, detailing out the entire process. So it does put you in a position to I think to vote on it if you're comfortable.
The applicant have any questions?
Applicant?
No, I think everything in here makes sense and was previously discussed by the planning board, so that's no question.
Well, let's write down that he said it makes sense.
Anyone have any just general comments about the plan and about the location?
I think we're ready for a vote.
It's like we are. All right, so can I have a motion to accept this resolution as amended with the changes we made as we went through it? We're gonna take a roll call vote.
So moved.
Second.
Al,
Aye.
Vicky,
Hi.
Scott,
Aye.
Dick,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Ethan,
Yes.
and I also vote aye. Let it be shown that it passed. Passed 7-0.
Do you want me to make the changes for this? Okay,
Please.
just. Just for the, why don't you just make a copy of my markups, so you have that.
She's got to work on the minutes of that zoning.
Every time you read these things, you find something out.
Okay, the resolution is passed. Let's wait, church vote. No.
A lot of hard work by the planning.
Yes, thank you everyone for all the work this last year. Whole year working on this, considering everything, reading everything. In the rain, whoever said, I wasn't there for that one, whoever went there in the rain. And I just thank everyone for, as usual, just all the work everyone does and conscientious consideration of these applications. Tricia, we don't have anything else, right?
Mike, I have an issue.
Oh,
What, if anything, is being done about the monitoring of the beginning of the project, which will involve tree cutting? Given the fact that is that the decision been made?
it's the engineer, in the resolution, so the tree marking would be the engineer and we put both in there.
And that, no, it's an oversight will continue and it's been.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes. And on that, what is the status of the code enforcement officer? Situation
You mean where, yeah,
with the town board?
Well, the town board has been interviewing. No decision has been made.
Okay. What so Drew's done at the end of the month, right?
Yes, but I think Drew is. I think this could dwell into health in the training.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
transition period.
And if there's a gap, what's we don't know. Okay.
Well, a lot of the oversight can be done by the town engineer.
Okay.
So if we do have a gap, you know, we've done that in other towns, but hopefully there won't be.
Because, well, Ethan, why don't you ask, so why, I guess this was in the paper? That someone was appointed on November 16th, did that not happen?
Not that we're aware of.
That's a
Sarah.
question for you, Councilwoman.
So in
What
the,
paper?
in the Herald said that someone was appointed, did that not actually happen?
That's it. I'm hoping that happened.
Okay,
What's it called?
yeah, Eddie Kazaza,
That's why I put it in the paper.
right, yeah.
But there was no audio to the meeting, so nobody could tell if they were here.
All right.
Still with any of it,
Okay.
Okay, all right, well, I'll follow up with Brian and everyone. And then, I wonder if Drew's doing his office hours tomorrow, that'll be his last one. I don't know,
Should bring him.
I might, yeah, I might stop on.
What do we have for the next meeting?
The 13, what is it?
December
13th,
What do we?
a bunch of things.
Wait.
What do we have so far?
Well, 2 outline adjustments, and then if we hear back from any of the, I haven't anything yet from Mr. Birch or, the charge stations.
Gas station.
The
The
charging station. But we have 2 lot line adjustments that came in.
Oh, okay,
Okay. All right, you're good for that night, right?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, well, Frank, thank you very much.
Do this.
Thanks for all
Okay,
your
thank you.
project and all
Thanks,
advice.
Frank.
Thank you.
Yep,
And thanks, Sarah, too, for all of her help.
Great. All right,
I
so
will.
can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?